Iraq and Afghanistan, success or failure, and how do we know? My name is Casey Emlin. I'm the program director here at the University YMCA. Before introducing the head table and speaker for today, I just would like to inform you of some upcoming events going on at the Y, as well as some additional information about our series. We'd like to invite you to join us on March 17th at 7:30 p.m. as we host Beverly Guy Sheftel, who is a professor at Spelman College. She'll be giving a talk entitled African American Women and Feminism. We hope that you can join us for that. It is in conjunction with our exhibition 23 Portraits, which features prominent African American women with ties to the Champaign-Urbana and U of I communities. We'd also like to invite you to join us for some of our international programming. We currently have tickets on sale for our annual international dinner, which features food from 30 different countries, as well as performances by Balcanalia and Bossa Nuevo. As well as some other registered student organizations. Tickets are $8 and they're on sale right now at the front desk. That's Sunday, March 13th, beginning at 6 p.m. And also our weekly coffee hours, which are hosted in conjunction with the Cosmopolitan Club. If you'd like to learn about a different country, as well as eat some different food, you can join us this week for our Greek coffee hour, which is in this room Thursday. Actually, no, it's not. It's in the other room over there. Thursdays at 7:30. I'd also like to invite you to join us for our Tuesday series, Know Your University, which is also held at noon in this room, as we host Zach Grant, who's farm manager of the Sustainable Student Farm, who will be speaking about that endeavor. And then also I'd like to invite you to join us as we continue our Friday Forum series, Americans at War. Next Friday, there is a correction that is different to the schedule from what you have on the series brochures in front of you. So we had two speakers switch. So rather than the speaker that is listed there, we'll actually be hosting what is listed as the final talk in the series, John Lynn, who is Distinguished Professor of Military History at Northwestern University. And we'll be talking about getting back at bin Laden, fear, outrage, and the American way in the war on terrorism. So we hope that you will join us again next Friday. The back of your series brochures lists campus and community organizations that have joined with the University Y, McKinley Foundation, First Mennonite Church, Wesley Foundation, and Episcopal Church and Foundation in financially sponsoring this program. We'd like to thank each of these groups for their consistent support. Sign language interpreters are available for any speaker in our series as long as you give us a few days notice, and you can do so by going to the front desk of the Y if you are in need of such services. Friday Forum is rebroadcast on WEF 90.1 Community Radio on Mondays from 6 to 7 p.m. Because of this, after the speaker's presentation, we'll begin a question and answer period using the remote microphone that I'm currently using. We ask that you wait to ask your question until I can come and bring you the microphone. That way we can get your questions on the air. So please do raise your hand, and I'm happy to run around the room and bring the mic to you. But we want to make sure that both Paul can hear your questions as well as the radio listeners. If you need to leave at any time during the presentation for class or other commitments, please feel free to discreetly slip out. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to today's head table. We're joined by Professor Yishi Shoden, who's a visiting scholar from JNU in India, and also Apexa Mamtora, who is president of Amnesty International, one of the YMCA's student programs. And finally, our most distinguished guest, our today's speaker, Paul Diehl. He is the Henning Larson Professor of Political Science at the University of Illinois. He also serves as director of the Correlates of War Project, the largest data collection effort on international conflict in the world. And he is founding director emeritus of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences Teaching Academy. Since 2008, he's been editor-in-chief of the Journal of International Interactions. He received his PhD in political science from the University of Michigan and has held faculty positions at the University of Georgia and SUNY Albany. Some of his books include The Dynamics of International Law, Evaluating Peace Operations, and the Scourge of War. Please join me in welcoming our speaker, Dr. Paul Diehl.
Thank you, Casey, and thank you for coming out today. Mission accomplished. That was the statement that President George Bush made aboard the ship USS Lincoln on May 1st, 2003, signifying the success of the United States following the invasion of Iraq. But rather than the end of a process that signified a peaceful and stable Iraq, in many cases it was that day that signified the beginning of a search for a peaceful and stable Iraq. Indeed, almost 7 years later to the day, General David Petreaus declared that the troop surge that had taken place in Iraq over the previous year and a half was a success. And shortly thereafter, after 9 years of military efforts in Afghanistan, General Petreaus declared that success in Afghanistan was now possible. If one looks at all those kind of statements about progress, victory, and mission accomplished, we may start to wonder, what does it mean to be successful in that kind of environment? We all want some kind of success in Afghanistan, in Iraq, but what does that really mean, and how will we recognize it if and when it occurs? In my talk today, I'd like to go over this idea of success in peacebuilding efforts with special attention to Afghanistan and Iraq, and try and give you some ways to think about this particular kind of issue, so that when you hear statements made by political officials, those in the media, those on the ground in Afghanistan and Iraq, you can evaluate those statements and assess for yourselves what is a meaningful and true assessment, perhaps, and what might be mere political kind of rhetoric. And in doing so, I will try and give you some ideas of some measures of progress or objective kind of indicators, but also how to look at those in many ways with some subjectivity. But before I talk about that, let me have you think about two kind of considerations whenever you consider about what it means to have success in operations such as Afghanistan and Iraq. The first is I want you to consider, when one refers to something as being a success or mission accomplished, you ought to ask yourself, success for whom? And that may not be the most obvious thing, but consider when one looks at Afghanistan and Iraq, there are a variety of stakeholders who have vested interests in whatever outcomes happen in those conflicts. There's clearly